I had one chance to save my little boy, but he slipped from my hands trying to save his toy truck. This is the saddest story you'll ever hear, and I need you to know what really happened that 4th of July morning. My name is Jessica, I'm 28 years old, and I'm about to tell you the hardest story of my life. But I need you to understand that my son didn't die because he was disobedient or careless. He died because he had the biggest heart in the world. Liam was 6 years old in my entire universe. Strawberry blonde hair that caught the sunlight like spun gold, freckles scattered across his nose like tiny stars, and the brightest green eyes you've ever seen. He was in kindergarten and dreamed of becoming a firefighter so he could save everyone who was scared. He was the kind of child who would give away his lunch to a kid who forgot theirs, even if it meant going hungry himself. I remember when he was 4, and we found a stray dog with a broken leg behind our apartment building. Liam spent 3 days bringing the dog food and water, talking to him softly, and promising everything would be okay. When we finally got the dog to a vet, Liam used his birthday money to help pay for the treatment. He needed help, Mama, he said simply. That's what you do when someone needs help. His most precious possession was a bright red fire truck that had belonged to his father before he passed away when Liam was 3. It wasn't just a toy, it was his connection to the daddy he barely remembered, his symbol of being a hero, his constant companion. He carried it everywhere, made siren sounds while playing, and told everyone who would listen that he was going to be a brave firefighter just like his daddy. The truck had seen better days. The paint was chipped, one wheel was slightly bent, and the ladder was missing a rung. But to Liam, it was perfect. Daddy held this truck when he was little, he would say, running his small fingers over the worn metal. And someday, when I'm a real firefighter, I'll give it to my little boy. When Liam started having nightmares after his father's death, that little fire truck became his protector. He would clutch it against his chest and tell me, "Daddy's truck keeps the bad dreams away, Mama. It's got special powers." And somehow, it always worked. On his worst nights, when the grief felt too heavy for such a small boy, that truck was his anchor. July 4th, 2025 started like any other holiday. We were staying with my sister's family at their house near the Guadalupe River in Hunt, Texas. Liam had been so excited about the Independence Day celebration, swimming in the river, watching fireworks, and playing with his cousins. He woke up at sunrise with his fire truck tucked under his arm, as always. "Mama, can Red Truck see the fireworks tonight?" he asked, using the name he'd given his beloved toy. He was wearing his favorite pajamas, the ones with little American flags that we'd bought specifically for this trip. Red Truck has never seen real fireworks before. I told him of course Red Truck could watch the fireworks, gave him a kiss on his forehead, and started making breakfast while he got dressed. Watching him carefully place the truck on the kitchen counter while he ate cereal, I couldn't help but smile at how seriously he took care of his prized possession. While he ate his Lucky Charms, Liam told me about his plans for the day. "I'm gonna show Red Truck the river and maybe we'll see some fish," he said, taking a big bite and getting milk on his chin. He wants to know if there are any emergencies to help with. Liam often talked about the truck as if it were alive, creating elaborate scenarios where Red Truck would save the day. "What kind of emergencies does Red Truck want to help with?" I asked, playing along as I always did. "Maybe there's a cat stuck in a tree by the river, or someone who needs rescuing from the water," he replied seriously. "Red Truck and I are always ready to help." Our holiday plans were simple but perfect. My sister Jennifer's house sat right on the riverbank, with a beautiful view of the Guadalupe River flowing gently past. Liam loved it there. Every morning, he would stand on the back porch with Red Truck, watching the sunrise reflect on the water. "Look, Red Truck," he would say. "The river is sparkling like the diamonds on Mama's ring." The area was known for occasional flooding during heavy rains, but nothing serious. The locals always said the water would rise a little during storms and then recede. We'd been coming to this spot for family gatherings for 3 years, and it had always been safe. Liam had learned to swim in that very river the previous summer. Around 1 p.m., it started to drizzle. It wasn't unusual for July in Texas. Afternoon thunderstorms were common during the summer. Liam came running inside, Red Truck clutched to his chest, both of them slightly damp from the light rain. "Mama, Red Truck got a little wet," he said, showing me the truck's shiny surface. "But he's not scared of water because fire trucks help in all kinds of weather." "Let's dry you both off," I said, grabbing a kitchen towel. He went to the living room to play, and I could hear him making siren sounds and talking to Red Truck. "Don't worry, Red Truck. A little rain never hurt a brave fire truck. We're safe inside where it's warm and dry." It was common to hear him having full conversations with the truck. He would create different voices, assign it missions, and sometimes even scold it gently when it misbehaved. Once, I found him explaining traffic rules to Red Truck because it had driven too fast during a rescue mission. "You have to be careful," he said seriously. "Heroes have to follow the rules too." When I finished tidying up the kitchen, I found them both on the living room carpet, Liam pushing Red Truck around an elaborate track he'd made with couch cushions. "We're responding to an emergency call," he explained to me with complete seriousness. "There's a teddy bear stuck under the coffee table, and only Red Truck can save him." By 3 p.m., the rain had picked up significantly. By 5 p.m., it was starting to concern me, but nothing prepared us for what was coming. I was in the kitchen helping Jennifer prepare dinner when I noticed the river was higher than I'd ever seen it. "Probably just runoff from the storm," Jennifer said, but her voice carried a note of uncertainty. Liam was in the living room, playing with Red Truck and his cousins. They had built an entire emergency response center out of couch cushions and were taking turns being the dispatcher. "Emergency services, what's your location?" Liam would say in his most grown-up voice, then answer himself, "Red Truck is on the way." "Mama, it's raining really hard," he said, coming to the kitchen with Red Truck in his arms. "Red Truck wants to know if everyone outside is safe. He's worried about people who might need help." Even at 6 years old, Liam's first thought was always about helping others. I explained that people knew how to take care of themselves during storms, and he seemed relieved. "Good," he said, hugging Red Truck. "Red Truck doesn't like it when people are in danger. He wishes he could help everyone." If I had known what would happen in the next 6 hours, I would have grabbed Liam and left that house immediately. But how could I know? No one warned us that this wasn't just another Texas thunderstorm, but the beginning of a catastrophe that would devastate the Texas Hill Country and change our lives forever. At 6 p.m., Jennifer turned on the weather radio to check the forecast. The meteorologist was talking about heavy rains and possible flooding, but nothing that seemed extraordinary for the region. Liam joined us in the kitchen with Red Truck, and we watched the storm through the window while waiting for dinner. "Mama, can I tell you something?" he asked during a lull in the conversation. "Of course, sweetheart," I replied. "Sometimes I dream that Red Truck grows big enough for me to ride in, and we go around saving people together," he said, stroking the truck's worn surface. "Would that be cool?" I agreed, kissing the top of his head. "You and Red Truck would make the best rescue team ever." Liam colored at the kitchen table while we cooked, with Red Truck positioned carefully beside his crayons, supervising the artwork. "Mama, when I'm a real firefighter, I want to save kids who are scared," he said, coloring a picture of a fire station. "Kids like me who miss their daddies." My heart broke a little at his words, but I was so proud of his compassionate spirit. "What would you tell people about Red Truck if you had to describe him?" I asked, curious about his perspective. That he's the bravest truck in the world? That he always helps people? That he never gives up? And that he's got my daddy's brave heart inside him, he replied without hesitation. And that he loves me the same way Daddy did, forever and always. At 7 p.m., the power went out. Liam came running to me, Red Truck in his arms, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Mama, it's dark, but Red Truck isn't scared," he said, trying to be brave. He said real firefighters aren't afraid of the dark. I calmed him down, lit some candles, and we ate dinner by candlelight. "This is like camping," I said, trying to make the situation fun. "Brave firefighters go camping all the time." Liam loved the idea and started telling adventure stories, always featuring Red Truck as the hero who saved the day. "Once upon a time, there was a little boy in his fire truck who had to help people during a big storm," he began, using different voices for the characters. "And the fire truck said, 'Don't worry, Liam, we'll keep everyone safe.' And the boy said, 'That's right, Red Truck, heroes never give up.'" We turned that candlelit dinner into an adventure. I told stories about real firefighters, and Liam listened with rapt attention, holding Red Truck against his chest. "Red Truck wants to meet real firefighters someday," he said. "He wants to learn how to be even more helpful." By 8 p.m., I began to notice the river was rising at an alarming rate. It wasn't just rain anymore. Something was seriously wrong. The sound was different too, like there was a powerful current building. I went to look out the back window and saw that the water was already covering the lower part of Jennifer's yard. "Mama, why do you look worried?" Liam asked, noticing my tension with the perceptiveness that children often have. "It's just a big storm, honey," I said, trying to sound calm. "But maybe we should go upstairs, just to be more comfortable." He agreed readily, gathering up Red Truck and a few other toys. "Are we going on an upstairs adventure?" he asked excitedly, clutching Red Truck. Red Truck loves adventures. He says adventures make firefighters braver. I smiled despite my growing anxiety, amazed at his ability to find joy even when things felt uncertain. We went upstairs with Jennifer's family, and Liam immediately set up a play area for Red Truck on the bed. "This is our command center," he announced importantly. "From here, Red Truck can see everything and help coordinate rescues. Even in a potentially dangerous situation, he was thinking about helping others." I sat beside him and we started talking about silly things, about school starting soon, about his friends, about what he wanted to be when he grew up besides a firefighter. I tried to ignore the sound of rain getting louder and louder, but Liam was noticing it too. Mama, the storm sounds really big, he said, holding Red Truck a little tighter. But Red Truck says big storms just mean more people might need help, so we have to be extra ready. His innocent bravery in the face of the unknown made my heart swell with pride and break with worry at the same time. At 9 p.m., water started seeping under the front door downstairs. That's when I realized this wasn't just a normal flood. The sound of water entering the house made my blood run cold. Everyone, we need to pack some important things, Jennifer announced, trying to stay calm for the children. Why? Liam asked, hugging Red Truck protectively. Is it because of the water? Just to be safe, I replied, watching as Jennifer gathered documents and emergency supplies. Sometimes it's better to be prepared, like firefighters always are. Liam watched me pack our important items into a waterproof bag. Can Red Truck come in the bag? He asked. He might get scared if we leave him behind. Of course, I said, though I knew there wouldn't be room. But it's probably better if you hold him close to you. That way he can see everything and help you be brave. I also packed some dry clothes for both of us, water and snacks. Liam helped by suggesting what Red Truck might need. Does Red Truck need anything special? I asked. Just me, he said simply. Red Truck only needs me to be with him. That's how he gets his power to help people. At 10:30 p.m., the water was up to my knees on the first floor. We couldn't wait any longer. The sound was deafening now, and through the windows we could see that the peaceful river had become a raging torrent. Cars were being swept away, trees were falling, and most terrifying of all, we could hear people screaming for help in the distance. Liam, we need to leave the house now, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. All of us? He asked, looking around at his cousins and aunt and uncle. Yes, all of us, I confirmed. And Red Truck too, he added. We never leave Red Truck behind. Heroes stick together. We made our way downstairs, and the water was already up to Liam's chest. The first floor of the house was flooding rapidly. Furniture was floating, and I watched helplessly as family photos and keepsakes were swept away by the current rushing through the house. Mama, the water is really cold, he said when we reached the living room. But Red Truck says cold water doesn't scare brave firefighters. His teeth were chattering, but he was trying so hard to be courageous, just like the heroes he admired. I picked Liam up, and he wrapped his arms around my neck, with Red Truck pressed securely between us. Mama, I'm a little scared, he whispered in my ear, the first admission of fear he'd made all evening. I know, baby, but we're going to stay together, okay? Me, you, and Red Truck, he corrected. The three of us are a team. Getting out the front door was nearly impossible due to the water pressure. When we finally managed to open it, a powerful current almost knocked me off my feet. Hold on tight to me, I told Liam. And make sure Red Truck is safe too, he replied, as if the toy truck's safety was just as important as our own. Mama, the water is moving really fast, he observed as we stepped into the flood. Red Truck says that's okay because fire trucks are used to going fast to help people. His ability to find courage through his connection to that little toy was both heartbreaking and inspiring. Outside, it was complete chaos. The water was flowing with a force I had never experienced in all my years living in Texas. Cars flipped upside down, entire trees being swept away like twigs, and the sound of people crying for help echoed through the darkness. The rain continued to pound down, making it nearly impossible to see where we were going. We need to get to higher ground, Jennifer shouted over the roar of the water, pointing toward the main road that ran uphill from the river. It was about 4 blocks away and seemed like our best chance of getting to safety. If we could just make it that far, we might find rescue vehicles or other people who could help. Liam pressed Red Truck against his chest, shielding it from the rain with his small body. Mama, what if Red Truck falls in the water? He asked, his voice barely audible over the storm. He's not waterproof like real fire trucks. The genuine concern in his voice for his toy's well-being in the middle of our own life-threatening situation was so purely Liam. Don't worry, I told him, adjusting my grip to make sure he felt secure. You're holding him so tight that nothing bad can happen to him. You're being the best firefighter partner he could ask for. Red Truck says I'm doing a good job protecting him, he replied, and I could hear him trying to stay brave. We began wading through what used to be Jennifer's neighborhood, now transformed into a dangerous river. The water was freezing and filled with debris, pieces of houses, furniture, tree branches, and things I couldn't identify in the darkness. Every step was a battle against the current that wanted to sweep us away. Mama, I can't see the street anymore, Liam said, clinging to my neck. Everything looks different. I know, honey, I replied, trying to navigate by memory and the occasional streetlight that was still working. But we're going to follow the road up the hill, just like Red Truck would do on a rescue mission. We passed houses that were completely underwater, with only their rooftops visible above the flood. Mama, what about the people who lived in those houses? Liam asked with the empathy that made him so special. Do you think they got out safely? I assured him that everyone had been evacuated. though I had no way of knowing if that was true. Red Truck is worried about all the families, he said, hugging the toy closer. He wishes he was big enough to carry everyone to safety. Even in our desperate situation, Liam was thinking about others who might be in danger. Tell Red Truck that there are lots of real fire trucks coming to help, I said, hoping it was true. Halfway to our destination, the situation became much worse. The water had risen to my chest, and Liam was completely soaked despite my efforts to keep him as dry as possible. His little hands were starting to go numb from the cold, and I could feel how much he was shivering. "Mama, my hands are getting sleepy," he said, and I saw panic flash across his face. "What if I drop Red Truck? Put him inside my jacket," I suggested, opening my coat as much as I could while still carrying him. "That way he'll be warm and safe and your hands can rest." Liam carefully tucked Red Truck inside my jacket, between us. I could feel how waterlogged the metal toy had become, much heavier than usual. "Now he's in the safest place," Liam said with relief. "Now we're all together and nothing can separate us." "Mama, why is this happening?" he asked as we continued fighting against the increasingly strong current. It was a question I couldn't answer in any way that would make sense to a 6-year-old. "Sometimes nature has big storms," I said simply, "but brave people help each other get through them." "Red Truck wants to know if our house will be okay," he said, referring to our apartment back in town. "He likes our house because that's where all his favorite hiding spots are." "Our house will be fine," I promised, though I wasn't sure about anything anymore. "Red Truck will have lots of new adventures there when we get home." Just then, we heard a sound that made my heart stop. A deep rumbling that was different from the rain and rushing water. I turned to see what looked like a wall of water approaching from upriver, much larger than anything we'd seen so far. This wasn't just flooding anymore. It was like a dam had burst somewhere upstream. "Liam, hold on as tight as you can," I screamed, bracing for impact. "What's that noise?" he asked, but before I could answer, the massive wave hit us with tremendous force that instantly lifted my feet off the ground. For a terrifying moment, I thought we were all going to die together. Liam screamed but didn't let go of me, and I felt Red Truck pressed between us as we were swept along by the violent current. "Mama!" he cried out. "I'm here!" I shouted back. "Don't let go." We managed to grab onto a partially submerged street sign, fighting to keep our heads above water as the flood raged around us. The current was so strong that I knew we couldn't hold on for long. We needed to find another way to safety, and we needed to find it fast. "Liam, we're going to try to get to that building," I said, pointing to a structure that still had its upper floor above the waterline. It was about 30 yards away, a dangerous distance in these conditions, but our only option. "Can we make it?" he asked, trust shining in his green eyes despite the terror of our situation. "We can make it," I told him with more confidence than I felt. "Red Truck is going to help us be brave, right?" "Right," he said, reaching inside my jacket to touch his precious toy. "Red Truck says heroes never give up, no matter how scary things get." We started moving toward the building, using submerged cars and anything else we could find as stepping stones and handholds. The current was getting stronger with each passing minute, and I felt my strength beginning to fade. But Liam was counting on me, and that gave me the determination to keep going. "Mama, are you tired?" he asked, noticing my labored breathing. "A little," I admitted, "but I'm going to get us somewhere safe. That's what mamas do. And that's what heroes do too," he added. Red Truck told me that heroes help each other when they're tired. When we were about 20 yards from the building, I realized with growing horror that I might not make it with Liam in my arms. The water was too deep, the current too strong, and I was rapidly running out of energy. That's when I saw lights cutting through the rain, a rescue boat with emergency workers shouting instructions. "Over here! We have a child!" I screamed, waving one arm while holding Liam with the other. They saw us and began moving in our direction, but the current was so powerful that they couldn't get close enough to simply pull us aboard. "You're going to have to swim to us!" one of the rescuers shouted. "Can you make it?" I looked at Liam, who was getting weaker by the minute. His lips were blue with cold, and he was shivering uncontrollably despite being pressed against me. "Mama, I'm really tired," he whispered, "and Red Truck feels really heavy." The toy truck, completely waterlogged, now weighed much more than normal. In our current situation, that extra weight could be the difference between making it to the rescue boat or not. "Maybe we should let Red Truck float here while we swim to the boat," I suggested, making what I thought was a practical decision. "We can come back for him once we're safe." "No," Liam said with surprising force. "Red Truck can't swim. He'll be lost forever." "Liam, we need to move quickly," I insisted, seeing that the rescue boat was having trouble maintaining its position in the strong current. "Red Truck will understand." "But I promised," he said, tears mixing with the rain on his face. "I promised Red Truck I would never leave him behind." The rescuers shouted that they had other people to save and couldn't wait much longer. The current was getting stronger, and they were at risk of being swept away themselves. "Now or never!" one of them yelled, and panic filled my chest. "Okay, we'll take Red Truck with us." I gave in, knowing there was no time to argue. "But you have to promise not to let go of me, no matter what." "I promise, Mama," he said, looking into my eyes with complete trust. Me, you, and Red Truck together, always together. I started swimming toward the rescue boat with Liam clinging to my neck and Red Truck secured between us. The water was murky and cold, filled with debris that bumped into us as we struggled forward. I could barely see where I was going, navigating only by the voices of the men calling out directions. "You're almost there!" shouted one of the rescuers. "Keep coming!" I could feel my strength failing, but Liam was depending on me. "Mama, you're the strongest mama in the world," he whispered in my ear. "Red Truck says you can do anything." "I love you so much, Liam," I said, needing him to know. "I love you too, Mama," he replied. "And Red Truck loves you too. He says you're the best mama ever, and he's proud to be part of our family." Even in this desperate moment, his words filled my heart. We were just 10 feet from the boat when I felt a powerful undertow grab my legs. For a moment, we went completely underwater, and when we surfaced, Liam was coughing and sputtering. "Mama, Red Truck!" he gasped, looking around frantically. "Where is he?" I looked around desperately and saw the red fire truck floating several yards away, being carried rapidly downstream by the current. The toy that meant everything to my little boy was disappearing into the dark, churning water. "There!" Liam pointed with a shaking hand. "He's right there. We have to save him." Before I could stop him, my 6-year-old son made a decision that would haunt me forever. What happened in the next 30 seconds will replay in my mind for the rest of my life. Every detail burned into my memory with perfect, devastating clarity. Liam looked at me, then at Red Truck being swept away by the current, then at the rescue boat that was so close we could almost touch it. I saw the war in his little face, the battle between safety and loyalty, between survival and love. And then he made the choice that changed everything. "I have to save Red Truck," he declared, with the fierce determination that only a 6-year-old could possess. He would save me, and before I could react, he wriggled out of my exhausted arms and started swimming toward his beloved toy. "Liam, no!" I screamed, lunging forward to grab him, but he was already moving through the water with surprising speed, driven by pure love and determination. "Red Truck, I'm coming!" he called out, his small voice barely audible over the roar of the flood. "Liam, come back!" I cried, trying to swim after him while fighting against the current that was pulling me toward the rescue boat. "Kid, what are you doing?" shouted one of the rescuers, as shocked as I was by my son's sudden action. He was getting closer to Red Truck when a large wave crashed over him. My heart stopped beating as I watched my little boy disappear beneath the surface. When he came up again, he was farther away but triumphantly holding the fire truck above his head. "I got him, Mama!" he shouted with pure joy, as if nothing else in the world mattered. "Red Truck is safe! I saved him!" The happiness in his voice was heartbreaking. He was so proud of his rescue mission, so relieved that his treasured toy was okay. But the current was carrying him away from us, away from safety, away from the rescue boat that represented his only chance of survival. "Liam, swim back to me," I screamed, using every ounce of energy I had left to try to reach him. "I'm trying, Mama," he called back. "But the water is really strong. Red Truck is safe, though. He's not scared anymore." Even as he struggled against the powerful current, his first concern was reassuring me that his toy was okay. One of the rescuers had jumped into the water to try to help, but the distance between them was too great and the current too powerful. "Boy, grab my hand," the man shouted. "I'll help you." "Can you help Red Truck too?" Liam asked, still thinking about his toy even in mortal danger. "Yes, we'll help both of you," the rescuer lied, desperately trying to reach my son. But I knew it was impossible. No one could save a child who refused to let go of a waterlogged toy in a current that strong. Liam looked at me across the churning water, then down at Red Truck in his arms, then at the rescuer trying to reach him. For a moment, I thought he might make the rational choice, but then he hugged the fire truck tighter and shook his head. "We stay together," he said, and though the distance was great, I heard every word clearly. Red Truck and me always stay together. That's what Daddy would want. He was thinking of his father, of the man who had owned that toy before him, of the promise he felt he had made. "He's my daddy's truck," he continued, his voice carrying across the water. "I can't leave my daddy's truck alone. Heroes don't abandon their friends." Those were lessons I had taught him, values I had instilled in him about loyalty and never giving up on those you love. A massive wave was building behind him. "Liam, duck under the water," I screamed, remembering the swimming lessons we'd practiced. "Hold your breath and go under." He did as I said, disappearing beneath the surface with Red Truck clutched to his chest. When the wave passed, I searched frantically for him. "Liam! Liam!" I screamed, turning my head in every direction. Where are you? The rescuer was also looking, diving down and coming back up repeatedly. There, the man shouted, pointing to a spot further downstream. I saw Liam's blonde head surface again, still holding Red Truck. Mama! He called out, and his voice sounded weaker. I'm getting really tired, but Red Truck is okay. Hold on, baby! I screamed, though I knew he was getting farther away with each second. Mama's coming! But it wasn't true. The current was pulling us in opposite directions, and my strength was almost gone. Liam tried to swim toward us one more time, but I could see he was exhausted. Mama, my arms hurt, he called out, but Red Truck says to keep trying. He says heroes never give up. He was drawing strength from his toy, even as it was weighing him down. You're the bravest boy in the world, I shouted, trying to encourage him. Daddy would be so proud of you. Red Truck says Daddy is proud, he replied, and managed to smile even as he struggled. He says Daddy is watching us and he knows we're being brave. But then I realized he was losing the fight. His movements became slower, less coordinated. Mama, I can't swim anymore, he called out, and for the first time, I heard real fear in his voice. I'm too tired. Let go of the truck, Liam, I screamed one final time, using every bit of breath I had left. Please, baby, let it go. I can't leave Red Truck, he cried back. He needs me. Daddy's truck needs me to take care of it. That's when I understood this wasn't just about a toy. It was about honoring his father's memory, about the responsibility he felt to protect something that had belonged to the man he'd lost. It was about the kind of person I had raised him to be, someone who didn't abandon those he loved. Liam, Mama loves you more than anything, I shouted, knowing this might be my last chance to tell him. You're my whole world. I love you too, Mama, he called back. And Red Truck loves our family. He says we're the best family ever. At that moment, I saw another massive wave forming, larger than any that had come before. It was like a wall of dark water rushing toward my little boy. Liam, look out! I screamed, but the roar of the approaching wave drowned out my voice. The wave engulfed him completely. For endless seconds, I saw nothing. No blonde hair, no Red Truck, no sign of my son anywhere on the violent surface of the water. When the wave passed, I searched desperately for any trace of them. Liam! Liam! I screamed until my throat was raw, diving under the muddy water again and again. My baby! Where are you? The rescuer was searching too, but the water was too dark and chaotic to see anything clearly. He's gone, the man said quietly, his voice heavy with sorrow. I can't see him anywhere. Keep looking, I begged, hysteria taking over. He has to be here. He's a good swimmer. He knows how to hold his breath. We searched for another 20 minutes, but we found no trace of Liam or Red Truck. The flood had taken them both, swallowed them into the darkness and fury of the water. My 6-year-old son had vanished while trying to save the toy that connected him to his father. Ma'am, I have to get you to the boat, the rescuer said gently, taking hold of my arm. There's nothing more we can do here. No, I fought against him like a wild animal. I won't leave my son. He's out there somewhere. He's not here anymore, the man said with heartbreaking kindness. And if we don't go now, we'll be lost too. He was right, but how do you tell a mother to abandon the search for her child? How do you ask someone to give up on the most important person in their world? He went back for the truck, I whispered as the fight left my body. He went back to save Red Truck. What truck? The rescuer asked. His daddy's fire truck, I replied. The one his father played with as a child. Liam couldn't leave it behind. The man helped me to the rescue boat where other survivors were waiting. All of us soaked, all of us traumatized, all of us carrying our own stories of loss. But no story compared to mine. I had lost my 6-year-old son because he loved a toy truck too much to let it go. My baby, I whispered, staring at the dark water. My little Liam, and from somewhere in the distance I could swear I heard a small voice calling, Mama, I saved Red Truck. Daddy's truck is safe. They took me to an emergency shelter set up at the Hunt Community Center. There, I spent the night wide awake, soaked and in shock. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Liam's face, saw him holding Red Truck above the water, saw the moment he chose his father's memory over his own safety. Throughout that endless night, I replayed every decision, wondering what I could have done differently. If I had been firmer about leaving the truck behind, if I had been a stronger swimmer, if I had taught him different values about when to let go. But deep down, I knew the truth. Liam wasn't just a stubborn child. He was a little boy who loved deeply, who felt responsible for protecting his father's memory, who would rather risk everything than break what he saw as a sacred trust. And those were the very qualities that made him the amazing child he was. The official search began at dawn. Dozens of firefighters, divers, and volunteers combed the areas where the Guadalupe River had claimed so many lives. Helicopters circled overhead, and search dogs worked the muddy banks. I joined every moment of the search, walking for miles along the riverbank. I walked through the devastated landscape, calling Liam's name, looking for any sign of him or Red Truck. Other families were searching too, and there was an unspoken bond between us. The terrible fellowship of those who had lost everything to the flood. "Liam! Liam!" I called out, my voice echoing across the destruction. "Mama's here. Where are you?" But only silence answered me, broken occasionally by the sound of search helicopters or the voices of other searchers calling other names. On the second day, they found the body of an elderly man who had tried to save his dog. On the third day, they recovered a teenage girl who had been swept away while helping her neighbors evacuate. Each discovery brought closure to one family while deepening the agony for the rest of us. Why not my son? I wondered with each body that was found. Why not Liam? But part of me was grateful he wasn't found, because as long as he wasn't, I could still hope that somehow, impossibly, he had survived. On the fifth day, a volunteer search team leader approached me. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who had been coordinating the civilian search efforts. "Mrs. Mitchell, we found something," she said gently, holding a muddy plastic bag. Inside was Red Truck, battered and covered in river mud, but unmistakably the toy that had meant everything to my son. One wheel was completely gone, the paint was almost entirely scraped off, and the ladder was bent at an impossible angle. But it was still recognizably the fire truck that Liam had loved so much. I took the truck in my trembling hands and broke down completely. It was heavier than I remembered, waterlogged and damaged, but when I held it against my chest, I could almost feel Liam's presence. This battered toy was all I had left of my little boy. "Where did you find it?" I asked through my tears. "About 15 miles downstream," the volunteer replied. "It was wedged in some fallen trees along with other debris from the flood. 15 miles. Liam had been carried 15 miles down that raging river, holding on to this truck until the very end. He did it," I whispered, stroking the dented metal surface. "He saved Red Truck." "I'm sorry?" the woman asked. "My son," I explained. "He went back into the flood to save this truck. He died protecting his father's memory." They continued searching for 3 more weeks, but Liam's body was never recovered. Officially, he's listed as missing, presumed dead. But I know what happened. He gave his life to save something that connected him to the father he'd lost. He died being exactly the kind of person I had raised him to be. Today, 18 months later, Red Truck sits on Liam's dresser in his bedroom, which I've kept exactly as he left it. I had the toy professionally restored as much as possible, but it will never be the same. The scars of that terrible night are permanent, just like the scars on my heart. Every night before I go to sleep, I hold Red Truck and talk to it just like Liam used to do. I tell it about my day, about how much I miss my little boy, about how proud I am that he was brave enough to save it. And sometimes, when the wind rattles the windows, I swear I can hear Liam's voice saying, "Don't worry, Red Truck. Mama will take care of you now." I learned that a child's love is pure and absolute. Liam couldn't abandon Red Truck because it represented something sacred to him. His connection to his father, his promise to protect something precious, his commitment to never leaving a friend behind. He died as he lived, with the biggest heart imaginable. Sometimes people ask if I blame the toy, if I think things would have been different if he hadn't been so attached to it. And I always give the same answer. Liam didn't die because of a toy truck. He died being faithful to the values I taught him about love, loyalty, and protecting what matters most. Don't abandon those you love. Keep your promises. Protect what's precious. Be brave when others need you. All of these lessons I had given him throughout his short life. When the moment came to choose, he chose to be exactly the person I had raised him to be. The Texas Hill Country floods of July 2025 were among the deadliest natural disasters in the state's recent history. The Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in 45 minutes, creating a wall of destruction that claimed at least 134 lives. Liam was one of the youngest victims, but his story represents the incredible courage and love that emerged even in the darkest hours. Today, I live one day at a time, carrying both unbearable grief and immense pride. Grief because I lost my son in the most heartbreaking way possible. Pride because he died being the extraordinary little boy he was. Every time I look at Red Truck, I remember that Liam didn't die for nothing. He died protecting love itself. I moved away from Texas after the tragedy. I couldn't bear to stay in a place filled with so many painful memories. But I took Red Truck with me, because it's all I have left of Liam. It's proof that my son existed, that he loved, that he was heroic until the very end. Sometimes when grief overwhelms me, I hold the truck and pretend it's Liam. I close my eyes and imagine he's there, telling me about his day at school, about the friends he made, about his dreams of becoming a firefighter like his daddy. For just a moment, the pain becomes bearable. I started volunteering at a children's hospital, reading stories to young patients. I couldn't have another child. The thought was too painful, but I could bring comfort to other children, other little ones who needed someone to care. And whenever I see a child with a special toy, I think of my son. Take good care of your friend, I always tell them. He's very special, and they always promise they will, that they'll never let anything bad happen to their treasures. I see Liam in every one of them. If you're a parent watching this, please hug your children tonight. Tell them you love them. Teach them to be kind and brave and loyal, but also teach them that sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to let go. I don't regret teaching Liam to be caring, to be protective, to honor his father's memory. Those were beautiful qualities that made him who he was. But if I could go back in time, I would also teach him that the people who love us want us to choose life, even if it means leaving precious things behind. My 6-year-old son taught me that some loves run deeper than self-preservation. Even in my grief, I'm proud to have raised a boy capable of such devotion. Liam didn't die as a victim. He died as a hero, saving something that represented everything good about love and memory and family. Every day when I look at Red Truck, I'm reminded that it represents something much bigger than a toy. It represents the unbreakable bond between a father and son, the power of memory to inspire courage, and the kind of love that transcends even death. And whenever someone asks me how I find the strength to go on, I show them the truck and say, because he succeeded, because in the end, he did exactly what he set out to do. He saved his daddy's truck, and if my little boy could be that brave, then I can be brave too. Liam, wherever you are, Mama loves you. Red Truck is safe, just like you promised. You're with Daddy now, and you can tell him that you took such good care of his special truck. And I'll keep telling your story, so the world knows that there are children capable of the purest kind of love. This is the story of my son, Liam, the little boy who went back to save his daddy's fire truck, the little boy who died being exactly who he was meant to be, the little boy who taught me that true love means never giving up on what matters most, no matter the cost. The floods may have taken my son's life, but they couldn't take his spirit, his love, or the profound impact he had in his 6 short years on Earth. Liam's story reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the human heart is capable of extraordinary love and sacrifice. He was just 6 years old, but he understood something that many adults never learn, that some promises are worth everything, that some loves are bigger than fear, and that being a hero isn't about size or strength, but about the courage to do what's right even when it's hard. I miss my little boy every second of every day, but I wouldn't change the kind of person he was. He lived and died with a heart full of love, and that's the most beautiful legacy any parent could ask for. He was and always will be my hero.